Probably my favorite scene in the music video. It's very, very interesting. It's very visual. And this is very cool too, how she's like crushing the wall when she's going into it. This scene is very beautiful. This is a very, very interesting. So these are really cool visuals. It's actually pulling the ship, but actually the whole world is like melting or something, or the whole world is like liquid. It's a really, you know, I always found the music video so fascinating. Yeah. Blackpink is back after Anaita's, which is really awesome. I just got into this band actually just last week, and what I'm doing, guys, I'm gonna break down each scene right in the music video. This here will be a much longer reaction, I think, than people have done, right? Because I'm more an art guy. I'm an art director, creative director, and we're talking about all the different scenes. I really, really love their music videos. They're really amazing. And so far, right, I've only seen 3 actually. And these, of course, have been older ones. For example, you know, DDU-DU, right? So it's very interesting now then for me coming in here, especially from a visual standpoint, right? Comparing it to what I've seen, you know, from these older 3, 4, 5, etc. right videos. I think so, because it's probably gonna be a big difference, right? I did a similar thing with Baby Metal last year, watching their like latest music video and their first music video, right? Which is like 10 years in between, which is of course like wow, massive things that happen here, right? In so many aspects. So I think it'd be cool, guys. Hope you appreciate the video. It takes me, of course, a time. This is probably like an hour long or so, right? It takes me a long time to make it. That is why I didn't do this reaction actually earlier. I saw the course coming out this morning. But I knew that it takes me probably 2 hours or so at least to make these videos, so I didn't have time at that moment to actually sit down and break it down. Right here we go. The latest Blackpink Gogok.
I'm in control. I want your body. I want your soul. Here to the rescue. I'm number 1. Your God and angel. Your kingdom come. It's gonna blow. You only move it when I say so. Go get it, I'ma go.
As I say immediately, very, of course, water focused here, right? Definitely to break down in the beginning there, but I think it's immediately very, very much liquid, right? Even before we saw the water flowing into the scene, we see them, right, with like rowings. It's creating some kind of maybe a galley. It's a lot of like boat stuff, right? It's like the rotary blades of a ship or something like that. So very, very focused on water and aquatic stuff and so forth, absolutely.
Get it, never gon' set it for second. I need a gold medal. Get up on the floor, tell me when to go. No slow jams, pumping through the speakers when I do my go-go dance. Oh nah, I go when I wanna go. I'm so gone, go reckless, go off. Like what could go wrong? I'm going all in. You should know that's my go-to. My whole crew with me. If I go, then they go too. I should beat up my drum. 'Cause when I call you, you're gonna come. Hold in position. It's gonna blow. You only move it when I say so. Your heart is broken, maybe. Darkness on the edge of town. Try to keep it open, baby. Try to let your walls come down. All your frozen, baby. I can make you turn to stone. You can stop and be alone, or you could.
Okay, so first of all, this seems to be a full English song, right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, I'm new to Blackpink, so this is the first one I've heard that only has English lyrics, right? Unless if they changed that now in the last half minute, I don't know, but I will put it out there. I haven't heard a song before. I think they always had some Korean in the other ones that I heard at least, and of course different percentage of it. One thing I think I immediately though, guys, from music standpoint, this feels quite different. I keep saying it, but I only have listened to, I guess their biggest hit so far, right? DDU-DU, mostly thinking me in my head here. It has more of like a quicker tempo, probably. I think song was here. This one, I wouldn't try like a power ballad, but this feels a little bit more slower tempo, more ballad feel to it, right? So on. Let's see the last bit here, but if this song feels a little more slower tempo, I guess that's how I was. Okay, so let's break it down, right? So first and foremost, I think it's fair to say that this one from Blackpink feels a lot more CGI, right? It certainly feels a lot more from the setting points. Maybe I'm wrong. They tend to make like the bear trap and so on, right? I love this stuff. But this one feels a lot more like it's computer generated, right? A lot of it. I think more so than the other ones before. I'm going to say every scene, but go back a bit here. This is like, otherwise, how would you do this thing, right? Yeah. I mean, perhaps you might have the people actually rowing. I do wonder if it's like, if it's a mixture of it. You could definitely have this thing built to have people row here, but the water they're coming into has to be generated. So it feels kind of different than the previous ones I looked at, because it's a lot more, I think, computer generated stuff, right? It's all AI. Yes, it's all generated AI. That's what it is. Yeah, even the singers, everything is AI. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but it certainly feels a little mixture of that. Right? Like I mentioned earlier, the main theme is clearly water, right? Liquid. From a visual standpoint, 100%. And there's a little bit of them. They're on a mission. They're kind of navigating, right? They're like like driving or piloting a ship or something. It's a mixture of, I would say sailing, right? But it feels like in some scenes they're maybe like, we're out navigating on a ship, ergo in water, and in some other moments, I guess it's like a spaceship, right? So this is like a mixture between those two. But basically, we're out, on a mission to get somewhere and go, destination. We have to go to our destination. So you can't stop me and so on. It feels kind of like a little bit that feeling, right? Overall, with the lyrics and so on. But anyway, let's go back to the beginning. I'm gonna break down each scene then, and also we'll afterwards see if there is also a behind the stage, perhaps, as some of the other video has. So yeah, so as I mentioned, right? Obviously, water. Beginning, clearly. Yeah, these are clear rows. Yeah, so they're obviously rowing. And for that matter, quick side note: I used to be a rower. You can see my body shape because I got my awesome body, right? Can barely even fit this shirt. Yeah, this shirt is freaking hard to get in. So this is rowing muscles. No, but in all seriousness, I used to row. My hometown has a lot of like Olympic rowers. So it's a big thing there. So I'm actually friends with a woman who used to train at the gym every morning together. Actually, when I was in senior high school, and she got to the Olympics then. This is going like 10 years ago then, but she was in like the Summer Olympics for rowing then, for Sweden then. So, and then my father is friends with an Olympic medalist in rowing. Of course then, like 50 years ago, but you know what I mean, yeah. So it's a lot of rowing actually. So I used to row for like, I don't know, 2-3 years, when I was in high school and so on. And there's a lot of like rowing machines at every gym, and my senior high school has a gym and a sauna and so on. Yes, I have a sauna at the high school, and they have a lot of rowing machines and so on at the school then, right? Because it's a lot of popular. So there's something I quite know about. liquid, right? But this thing is probably built though, just to be clear here. I do think this CGI more than the other ones, but this thing I think is something you can do. And there's some lights on it. Our outfit is a studio.
Here to the rescue.
This out here, but then, yeah, this outfit is badass. Might be my favorite outfit and look with the hair. Maybe. I feel this is the best outfit probably in this whole music video immediately here. This is really great. I love the super here. Yeah, this is really good.
I'm number one. Your God an angel. Your kingdom come.
But this is what I mean, right? Because I can see this thing here being something I could build, right? And I have worked with this myself. I can say you can build this thing, right? And you have the singer standing here, and we are lifting this thing. This could be a cloth or whatever, right? Then you're having these different like water effects. So what you do is that you take light, right? You have like a normal lamp, right? Like a light source, like I have next to me here, right? You know, and then you put like a filter on it, right? So you put something over it, or you create it, but you basically have something going like that, right? So then you get this cascading light effect. So that I've done in my own life. That's pretty easy to do actually. Like this kind of the shimmering water effect, right? From a technical standpoint, that is because when you're in water, right, it looks like that because the medium of water and air had different, what's called, now I'm going to deeper, but it's called Snell's law. Can you remember the name? Yeah, Snell. So you have what's called a brytningsindex. So it's like it's an index, diffraction index, maybe it's called in English. I can't remember the for it now. But basically, right, so air has 1 index and water has 1.33. So when light hits water, it bends like 33, and if it hits the glass, it's 1.5, and so on, right? So it has different effects of it, right? So that's, for example, how you get a prism effect. Because prism effect is that you have glass, it enters, right, and then it breaks 1.5. They have another glass over here with air, so it breaks twice, right? I mean, if you make light break twice like that in a close distance, then you get like a rainbow. So if you see a teardrop falling right from the sky and you get the rainbow, it's because it basically is light entering the water, right? The light water drop, and it leaves immediately afterwards, right? That's how you get that, like the different colors, because different colors, different frequency, right? Different so it hits them like that. But anyway, so to create this effect, that's pretty easy. You can do it different ways, right? You basically have to break the light, so you can take like just a glass going up and down like that, or whatever. Right? So I can see this being physically done. And then you have some cloth in front of her or something. Right? So all of this, I can see, I could build this from a physical standpoint. It actually probably be that hard, honestly. This part here, but the next part, I'm assuming is CGI, right? This thing here is crazy, obviously CGI, but I mean this is crazy. But even the rowing, but the thing is that I don't think the rowers are CGI. I think the rowers are, you have like a rowing team, right? And then you bend them. So it's probably more edited. What I mean is that this water here is obviously something they added in. This clearly can be the less. But it's like, how do I explain this thing? It's kind of like, they probably have people actually without rowing, right? Wearing these clothing, to be my guess. These guys has rowed. They already might be rowing on land or whatever. But whatever, they have this outfit on them and they're rowing, right? And then you're taking that recording and you're bending it, right? And you're editing it afterwards. You're stretching it to get this image, right? That's probably how it was done. And then you repeat it, you loop it, right? So you get this kind of effect, right? I don't think they have like created these, speak from scratch. It's probably more like an edited graphical reversion of a real rowing thing. Yeah, so this is of course like a rowing team, something. Yeah, if it's kind of sporty, like to stand, it does feel like it's referred to like a ship, right? When they are like rowing and they have some kind of galactic or something. With these sort of things, we see this later. Back yeah, this thing is shown later, right? Like all the singers, you have the heads there, and then it's falling over later. They're really cool visuals. But like this thing here though is probably used water. I'm wondering if it is CGI in a sense, because I keep saying it, right? But it's interesting how it's edited, because I can still see it being that this is actually like, how do I say this thing? I don't think it's like the water here is created by a computer, right? It's actually probably real water they're pouring down something and they're recording it, right? But it's more like how they edit it. They're taking this thing and they've warped it, right? I think that's what I feel most of this video is that it is a lot of like liquid that are flowing and then you're warping them, right? You're taking an actual recorded water, a waterfall or whatever, right? And you're like editing it, you're warping it, you're twisting it, to have this kind of shapes or whatever. That's what I'm thinking mostly that they've done. I mean, it's a mixture of the both, I suppose, but that's what it feels more.
You only move it when I say so.
This is like a rotary blade, right? Or maybe it's like a mixture in like a, like a mixture, yeah, water mixture. Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a quick scene there. It's a very quick scene. But yeah, this is what I mean, right? They're actually people dressed up as, and they're rowing, right? And now they're like edited them to row quicker or whatever, right? So yeah. Is that a yin yang sign? I think about the first time. Yeah, I guess it is. It's like a Magatama, right? Didn't think about it at first, but this is the Magatama. So if you look at the South Korean flag, right, so it's a very classic East Asian symbol, right, the Magatama here. It comes in here, right, and it's also the same form as the yin yang there. But yeah, so this is this has to be a Magatama, right? So this here is what I call like Magatama then, but I think it's called the Gogok in Korean. So I probably made someone angry now, but yeah, in my head I immediately thought about the Japanese word for it. I think they are kind of the same thing though, honestly. They use a different words for it, right? It's like a typical symbolism in East Asian cultures. This kind of shape, you know what I mean? So it's very, very common to see this thing, right? In China as well, yeah. So in like Korea, China, Japan, you have this thing. But in my head, yeah, I call it Magatama. That's the Japanese word for it. That's what I think immediately. But yeah, it's Gogok, I believe it's pronounced. I might butcher in the word, and perhaps. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But yeah, so it's a very typical symbol, right? And if you look at the flag, I mean, obviously the flag, right, of South Korea has that Gogok, the shape, right? The red and blue instead of black and white with yin yang. And like I said, it is a typical symbolism. You could look at other older South Korean maps, flags, I mean, and they have like this thing, but different shapes of it, or similar shapes and so on. And likewise, if you go to like Japanese flags or whatever, yeah, you will find it a lot, guys. Don't worry, I'm not gonna break all this down, right? But, and this is if you ever watch like, Naruto, right? Freaking anime, man. But I love Naruto. So they have, the Sharingan and so on. But this is very, very in East Asian culture, right? This kind of symbolism is very, very common. So you will find it like different spirit here, obviously yin and yang, right? But you know what I mean. You have all this like the three ones, the sort of that, and so forth, right? So yeah, like I said, if you know Naruto, I should everyone kind of know narratives, right? I have a narrative figure over there actually. But yeah, then it's kind of like you recognize that most of the different mega and eye powers, right, in Sharingan and so on. Is based on different like old school East Asian, symbolism, like different kind of forms of this or whatever, right? It's very, very clear. But yeah, clearly this is that shape, right? The Goku Magatama shape. And this part, I'm thinking they're sitting kind of like a spaceship, right? It does remind me. I talked about it, I think last video, but at NASA, right? So, I visit NASA every now and then. I send on the space or whatever. That's another video, but I still work with it. Like, I can't talk about it too much on YouTube, but yes, I work with space stuff, right, at NASA a bit. And when you go to the different shuttles and the training facilities, all right, they look a little bit like this. They don't actually look like this, the actual seat, right? Where you're sitting. This thing doesn't look at all, but more these things, right? This kind of the shapes around and arcs around them have this similar shape, right? And if you go to the Kennedy Space Center at Meriden Island, you can go through that astronaut training. I never done it myself though. That it's like a tourist thing. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's awesome. You should definitely visit one in your life. But I have been twice on the what is it called? Like the general like tourist So I've been with work, mentioned several times then. So we have done like the typical, like visitor thing. But you can also pay extra to go into these kind of machines and experience basically like the astronaut for one day kind of thing. I've never done that. I've been in the machines myself, but I've never done it as a tourist thing. So I don't know. I was like, I don't know if it's worth the money. But what I heard at least, it is a pretty cool experience. You in there and get the feeling of spinning around and so on, right? Like I said later in the video, you basically get this feeling of like spinning around in some kind of machinery and so on, right? But otherwise, yeah, it's a cool trip overall though. Going to Merritt Island. So I've been there many times then, and I got to Florida a lot to work with. So, today I was in one of these machines actually. But anyway, side note, don't say too much here. This obviously is supposed to be like a spaceship training, or I guess you could argue that this isn't a spaceship training facility; it's a submarine, right? Yeah, it's shipping, right? And she's entering like some kind of submarine shuttle thing, and it's spinning around, and it's going into the water to train this thing. But you also actually, this is in reality though, you might actually build this kind of machinery to train, right? And the water thing, maybe you built a spaceship and you're sending in the person into the water in the machinery to train the pressure or whatever, right? But you probably actually wouldn't do it at all in real life. That would be dangerous. No, it probably wouldn't make any sense, because in actuality, when you're spinning around, you're mostly training, to resist like G-force pressure and so on, right? And it's a lot of like getting, not seasick, but you get a lot of weird sickness, perhaps, if you're not used to it. I am terrible at that. That's like one of my absolute weaknesses, I feel, when I work for this kind of stuff, is that I can't handle. I have no problem with this at all, actually. But what I'm almost immune to this kind of thing completely. But what I'm really terrible at is VR, virtual reality. And augmented reality is one, like massively worse, because I have flied different fight jets or whatever, right? And so forth. I'm very good at that, and I have no problem sitting in like and controlling, like a cockpit or whatever, right? And so forth. Never struggled with that, but I get cyber sickness immediately when I put on like one of those VR things. And I remember when that started then, like 10 years ago, and we started testing this for some games, right, to try and build like the first. This was in Unreal and also Unity. They were trying to, and also Unreal, but mostly Unity at that time. They were trying to build some kind of like virtual reality, kind of going into, actually literally throwing into water, building like a submarine virtual reality game and stuff, right? And I hated it because I got like some kind of massive seasickness substance immediately, right? I couldn't work on those games. I felt so bad about it. And then when I went to do it for real life stuff, I was like, oh, this is perfect fine. Yeah, so it's really weird. It's much better now though. I have a friend, he's a doctor in literally cyber sickness, and the guy I'm actually sharing an office with, one of the professors in my office, he is actually also somewhat a cyber sickness doctor, I guess. Some respect. But the guy next to us, he's the doctor in cyber sickness. But I think it's much better these days. But it is a weird experience, honestly. It's very, very different than the actual going into the space station. I'm super into the nerd stuff. I don't know. I could talk like 10 hours about building spaceships. But anyway, that's what I do for a living, so let's talk about music instead. This kind of her coming out of the shuttle, right? Just leaving that here. Go get it, never gonna set it for second. I need a gold medal, get up. Yeah, it's kind of like coming to a new planet, perhaps. Set it for second. 8, but yeah, something coming there. Yeah, it's like birds are coming or something. It's a little bit here, right? I mean, it's very unclear. It reminds me of Interstellar, right? The water planet, yeah. It's actually landed on a planet on the water, and suddenly some bird monster is coming. It's probably penguins. Something. Go middle, get up on the float. Tell me when to go. No slow jams, pumping through the speakers when I do my. Oh, here we see more now as a bird. It's like a raven or something. Go, no slow jams. Yeah, it's a bird he did. Through the speakers when I do my go-go dance. Oh, nah, I go when I wanna go. I'm so gone, go reckless, go off. Like what could go wrong? I'm going all in. You should know that's my go-to. My whole crew with me if I go to the I love the scene there. This here, I liked it also the first time immediately, because I guess this is like, she's kind of climbing on a bridge, right? But I'm also assuming that's supposed to be like a ship, right? When you are pulling the sail, right? That's what I was thinking. So these are really cool visuals. It's actually pulling the ship, but actually the whole world is like melting or something, or the whole world is like liquid. It's a really, you know, I always found the music video so fascinating. Yeah, this is a very like fascinating visual thing as always. This is very cool. This scene is very cool. This is probably my favorite scene in the music video. It's very, very interesting. It's very visual. And this is very cool too, how she's like crushing the wall when she's coming into it. This scene is very beautiful. This is a very, very interesting very cool. Very, very cool. Putting up her skin. My god, she's an infiltrator. You know, I think about it now. They are dropping the mask all the time, right? And she put off her skin there. Are they aliens? Are it supposed to be that the band members are infiltrating us? Are they supposed to actually be like replaced? Are they like V, right? Are they lizard people? They are lizard. No, but think about it now. They have several scenes when their face is dropping, right? Like they're hiding their mask or whatever. Then listen here, yeah, she's pulling off her skin like a snake right there. So that may be what's included. They're alien, they replaced us. This is probably a little bit of the... is it Star Wars then? I guess so, right? It also feels a little bit like the classic Da Vinci paint, but I'm guessing this is Han Solo, of course, right? Yeah, you know, in the carbonated, and more space focus, right? And then it breaks. Yeah, and then to that, stands there, and yeah, go on the other board. Deleting, oh, she's crushing the machinery. Space travel, man. Yeah, then she kind of leaves the water. I wonder how they made this scene. Is it that they're actually driving outside of the water here? Maybe. Yeah, this here is crazy. This here is... Oh yeah, but I'm thinking about it now too. It's obviously alien and space and so on, and water. But this in here is clear like Saturnus. Like a ring. Yeah. But think about it now. This is a very, yeah, but it's a very interesting music video. It's very spacey. It's very NASA. I like it, you know. Feels like home for me. No, but it's very interesting because clearly now the sailors in the water here is creating like, you know, the rings of the planet, right? Like Saturnus then that has it's like an astrobelt, of course, around it. But yeah, so it creates like a different feel to it. It's very, very interesting. The stars behind it. That's, I guess, what this means, right? It's kind of coming into that. Very, very interesting. Like on this scene, when she's like turning into water or something, or gold, something liquid. Yeah, this was so early, right? This was in the background, in the beginning of the music video. This like them as some kind of weird trophy thing. It is a really cool chasing. It's like a byst, I guess. Yeah, it's like a several-headed byst. A Janus byst, perhaps. That's probably a thing, yeah. Now she's getting wings too. Yeah, same with early too. She's getting butterfly wings. So there's definitely this teen that turning into alien monsters, right? Alien monster waifus kind of thing going on here. They're getting butterfly wings. You can stop and be alone. Or you could. So you keep going. And this, I guess, is like them, you know, lifting from space, right? Yeah, this is them being like, you know, shut up in, you know, if you're launching, right? I guess. Space eyes like pink. This is a cool scene, she's falling into that. It looks like a giant eye rather though than a planet, but yeah, she's falling into the pink giant eye planet. I guess you could argue that it's the atmosphere of that planet is like pink. It would be fitting, right? In the other movies, they're throwing around pink and so on. So, yeah, this is a planet where atmosphere is pink, which I guess in theory wouldn't be impossible. You would have an atmosphere with, like an atom or whatever, right? Some kind of molecule. It depends, but I mean, some kind of either. It probably would have to be a molecule compound of some sort, right? That has like a reddish pink hue or whatever. And if the whole planet was filled of that, it definitely could have a pink atmosphere that was very, very pink. Probably, of course, would mean that humans couldn't live on it because we probably couldn't breathe that, right, at all. So it probably would die. But now in my head, I'm thinking, like, is there like a pink gas or something? I mean, okay, so some, noble gases, right, are kind of red to pink. So I guess if you had a whole planet of that, instead of having oxygen and so forth in the atmosphere, the whole planet would just be this like neon or something. It would be covered in it. The planet would be like shiny. Yeah, the planet would be like that would be kind of funny. Think about like a neon sign. Yeah, the whole planet is be neon, and then the planet would be like super shiny, right? For distance, yeah, it would be. You'd probably be blind immediately living in that planet because it's ignoring the whole issue of no oxygen, of course, right? Everything, all light would be so massive, more affected. It's like a neon sign, right? So it would probably be incredibly bright on that planet, right? Like a pink atmosphere planet would probably much brighter than what Earth is. So the sky would be like super pink. Yeah, the sky would be like uber pink, and you'd be like, oh, I can't see anything. And it would be super hard to actually be in the planet. You would be blinded. Like ignoring you can't breathe, but I mean you have like an oxygen tank on you, right? But you wouldn't be able to see anything because it would be so bright. I mean, or else you see everything. You see like that. 39 is cool. Yeah, 39. Yeah, she's turning into like a butterfly monster. So it does feel that they are evolving into alien girls, right? That they go to different planets and they're like adapting, getting different powers. It's like Fantastic Four. Yeah, they're landing here, they're getting radiation, and she's now a butterfly lady. That's how it looks. You see exactly. Now she's transforming here. This looks like some kind of thing from like a seashell, right? And her back here is transforming now, turning into a monster. Exactly. All of them are like transforming now. Yeah, same thing here, right? Like, first we see this thing, like their back is revolving to a new race, and then they're evolving here. This like 4. They get some kind of weird cosmic radiation, and now they're turning into monster girls. And then here again, now she's turning into some kind of mermaid or something. Looks like she's turning into a water animal of sorts, right? Yeah, this is like some. It's like the sign there. Yeah, that's interesting. Think about it now, yeah. They're becoming monster girls. Yeah. Gonna survive in space, guys. That's how you survive in space. But it's interesting. Think about here too, right? It's actually walking into this, hole or something. It's like some kind of gravity pull. I guess what it's supposed to mean, right? Like they have this kind of hole. She's looking into it, and she kind of try to enter the hole. It's some kind of, because what happens in reality, right? Is out in space. You have black holes and so forth, right? And all the stuff, of course, cosmic stuff. And what actually happens is like, it's, the gravitational pull, right, creates different kind of diffractions in space, okay? So that's why, now of course it doesn't look blue, but whatever, right? So the spatial part around whatever area has high gravity, right? Or has like a graviton or whatever arguably then would bend in space like fabric, right? So I guess what they mean here is like a black hole or something, but it's pinkish blue instead because what is the pink, and she's walking into the hole. And the idea then, right, typical Einstein stuff, is if you enter a black hole, right, the typical planet ape or whatever, you would time travel, right, something like that, or your body would be altered. So I like it from a scientific standpoint, right? I'm gonna title the video now like scientist reacts to Blackpink, because I am a scientist, right? I'm a published scientist of science. Like I talked about in my latest video of official High Dasim, where they made Make You Wonder, right? That was very scientific, right, on that video. Now I feel like this is like a mixture now of art and science, but I digress. It's interesting concept, right? Because what probably happens if you enter a black hole like this, you jump into it, you actually probably wouldn't die, because say if you freeze something down, right, massively, you don't die from it, right? Like hypothermia is really, really cold. You heat up again, because what happens is that the atoms, the molecules in your body, cannot move, so you can't actually disintegrate or whatever. So you can't actually die from that if it's really, really slow down. So basically, if you literally got like completely frozen, right, in whatever reason, right? So that's also why you have a maximized, how to say it? You have a maximized absolute lowest temperature, which is Kelvin there. So you have like the Kelvin meter, Kelvin 1, right? Kelvin, like bottom Kelvin. And we know that you can't go underneath that. So it's like minus 274, minus 273.4 Celsius, or that's like 1 Kelvin. But I think they changed it now. It's like 1 more decimal, whatever. But it's like it's around there, right? That's kind of the absolutely territory of cold, right? Where with heat, it can be infinitely hot, right? You can have 10 suns. You can have a billion spotted suns, right? It can be infinitely hot, but it can't actually be colder than that. Because at that level, nothing just moves anymore, right? All the atoms just freeze in place, right? So what probably would happen, to burst your bubble here, guys, if you jump into a black hole, so to speak, is that your body would probably stop in time, right? Like you just wouldn't move. Yeah, like your body would just be like completely frozen. So you probably actually wouldn't die from it. You would just be endlessly frozen, right? I have thought about it a lot, honestly, in my life. What happened actually? I read a book about it. No, but seriously, it probably wouldn't be painful. You probably would just not know what would happen, right? Because just how your brain works by sending electric neurons right in your brain, right? So if you're completely frozen, atom style wise, you wouldn't be able to think. Like you would literally be like frozen in time, right? So you wouldn't feel anything. You wouldn't be no pain. You wouldn't die either. You would just be like frozen in time. And then if someone could pull you out of the gravital pull, they kind of start warping the space around you, right? Like if you actually enter here, you would be warped in space basically. So you wouldn't die from it. You would just be frozen basically. And I guess you could argue that no, you would die because you would be bathed by the gravity. But the thing is that in reality, this takes like millions of years to have this shape actually, right? This hole has been here for like 10 billion years, right? And then this goes up here, it takes like so many years. So you actually, it wouldn't happen. You would be stuck in like the outer layer for like a millennia, you know what I mean? That's why I think about it. Eventually you would die because if it bends you too much, right? It depends, of course, where you would be in the gravity pull. If you're at the exterior, interior, whatever, right? It depends where you are as well. But you probably would be frozen. And in that sense, I do think that time travel in a gravitational way absolutely does make sense in Pedal Escape, so on. Because you literally would be like, no, I'm just frozen in time, right? So what that means is that you wouldn't be able to go back, though, right? Understand me correctly here. You wouldn't be able to time travel at a time machine. You know, back and forth wouldn't make any sense, right? But you would like freeze yourself in time going into it, and then if you could go outside of it, you would be in whatever is new time, right? So you wouldn't be able to time travel, you know, in a meaningful like back way, but you would be able to basically like just freeze and then unfreeze eventually, so you could like, you know, be in the future. That would happen. So in that sense, right? Like I said, Planet of the Ape is spoilers, right? They come back to Earth basically, right? The planet filled with apes, but it actually is the future Earth or whatever, right? And that's the idea, is that they've been in like a wormhole, space hole, dark hole thing, and they're coming out, and it's been like 10,000 years or 1,000 years or whatever, right? Yeah, so that's kind of like that concept actually really does work, I think, from a science standpoint. The problem is that you probably would be able to leave whatever hole is, right? The empties are kind of, I don't remember, moving wormhole, whatever. I mean, it's the problem is rather how will you leave this hole, right? So if she enters the hole now, she might be transformed, and you know, she can as a new monster girl out here, and now she turns into a butterfly or whatever, right? Or she gets some new powers, or her back is changed or whatever. This actually wouldn't be completely impossible, honestly. I don't think so. The problem is probably rather how do you leave? Yeah, I think that's the problem, right? How would you actually like go outside the whatever is warping the space? Yeah, how would you like escape it? That's probably the much bigger issue. Much bigger issue, just overall, in a time freeze moment. Now, would you be able to like change your body and get cool alien powers, turn into like a hot alien chick or whatever? That's much more doubtful. I guess this music video is going, like I mentioned earlier, right, with the Fantastic Four team on it. That is like, oh, you go into space and then you get radiated or something, so you develop new powers. Yeah, like you get some new abilities, right, from being hit by something weird out of space. And I think technically speaking, I think you actually could happen to humans in the future, where you go out to space or whatever, right, and you get hit by basically use a really high level of radiations, and then you mutate, right, and to get new whatever body parts. That is absolutely possible. I stand by as a scientist. The problem probably rather is that in these, fantasies, right, we imagine that like here we go up and we get into a butterfly. I'm a hot butterfly girl right now. Well, it probably wouldn't be that you turn into another animal. You know what I mean? You probably would rather go up there and you would evolve something else. Like maybe your skin is as double its toughness, like your knuckles are twice the size or whatever, right? Or you just get like 4 arms or something. I think it's more like that, right? It's more like we would mutate into different shapes of human rather than it's probably more like that. And then of course I would love if you could go out in space and you can turn into like the Human Torch and get like fire powers or whatever. That is obviously way less likely. It is probably definitely, like in this music video, probably more likely that by having a lot of space travel, people could transform into new kind of powers, animal powers and so on, like bending and turning into like a bird or something. That's probably way more likely than us going into space and then I can turn into a fireball now. Yeah. I think this is her. It's like she's transforming into a bird, something, right? We saw her earlier with the bird. I think it's the same. I think it is, but at least it's some kind of like bat bird thing going on, right? Something like that. I mean, sure, yeah, that is probably more likely than like, oh, I can teleport now, or something. Yeah, no, I don't think that seems completely random. That unfortunately, I want it to be real. I want it to be out there, like Archivex. I want to believe, but it seems very unlikely. And overall, now on this topic here, I suppose I do find it. When it comes to that, I mean, obviously I love, I have Spider-Man behind me and so on. And I do think the Spider-Man, right? It definitely is probably a lot more likely to happen in the future. That you can be half spider, right? Or have spider powers, or, like your human strength can be higher based on this, that. That is, like spider powers are much more likely to happen than, for example, like Cyclops, or I can shoot laser with my eyes. Like, how the hell? How would that work? You know what I mean? How does that work? How can you mutate it? How can you transform into that? And actually, it's kind of silly. I'm a nerd, obviously, so Cyclops does he opens his eyes into another dimension, right? Or something like that. His optic beam is like a gateway into some other frequency of dimension, something. So he shoots this like incredible blast, and the blast isn't like kinetic. It's like it's something super silly. Like the blast is actually a concussive blast instead of an energy blast, because he opens up a portal to another dimension or something. It's like the craziest explanation ever when thinking about it. He's the perfect example of like this is completely magic, man. To be that. But don't get me wrong, I mean, I like the X-Men, and it's kind of funny that they usually didn't give him like laser eyes. No, it's something stupid, like his eyes opens portals to another dimension. Like, it's so silly. Anyway, I wonder if they have like a behind the stage for this one. Let's go look at the chat. Yes, unfortunately, I don't see a behind the stage for this music video. I really like them in the other ones, and of course, it's awesome that they just hit 100 million subscribers just a few days ago. It should be like last week, right? And so forth. But the other ones have these, what's called like behind the stage or making the film. Call that making. That's kind of called, right? Like Pink Venom, so on, right? So yeah, I wish we have that. I might make a separate video then. Subscribe, press the like button, right? If you want to see that, I might make another video later with Go if it gets one of these ones. But earlier this week then, I obviously then made Pink Venom, And in that and DDU-DU is alright. I'm going over like both the music video and then we also check out, of course, the behind the stage making the film, right? I mean, react, I mean, talk about the different angles as well as alright. So they might. I mean, honestly, like I said, I'm very new to this thing, right? The Blackpink stuff. So tell me in the comments below. But I guess they post this making the film later, maybe next week. I don't know. It's a month later. I honestly have no idea. But I assume they probably will post it later. When I think about it from a business standpoint, you have all this production and all this cool stuff, right? It does make sense to not do it immediately, right? First you post your new music video, it gets a lot of why, people make reactions, whatever, and people break it down and all the fun stuff, right? And then you post this video maybe 3-4 months later, keeping the hype going, keeping the people interested, right? So I probably do the same thing, definitely. Keeping them like that, right? Kind of getting people reinvested, coming back to, like I said myself, right? Now I might make another video about Go, right? When it comes out, perhaps, if people interested. Yeah, so definitely kind of makes you, stay with that, right? So yeah, I probably done the same thing if I was the producer. It's like, for example, I worked in this game, right? A couple of years ago. I mean, I worked in many games, but I was the creative director of this game, and what we did, right? This is a game where you're playing as, how do I say it? It's a strategy game, and you have a bunch of characters, right? So you have heroes and evil villains and all that good stuff, right? But basically, every time we kind of finished a hero or a villain, and let's call them like champions, like league, right? Every time we finished, like, this is the new champion before the game was released, we would post, like, oh, here's the new character. You can play, Vanessa. She's a badass warrior lady. Here's like the short trailer of her, She has the ability to teleport. She's really, really tough, She's hard to play, whatever. You posted a teaser, right? And then 3 weeks later, it's like, oh, here's Jessica. She's a really fast woman, like, kind of like that. If it's really, we never posted, like, any new character, I say it on the same time. We never posted like 10 characters. It's always like one character, right? Like every third, fourth week. Keep people interested, keep people coming back. Keep people wishing to play the game. And showing them what is the new character, this character. For example, I worked on Skylanders many years ago. Same thing there, right? We were dropping new Skylander characters every month or so, right? And as a side story, I remember when a woman got fired for that. So this is a funny, sad story, but this is the day of selfies, right? So I was working on Skylanders, and this woman then, just because I explained, right, that you want to like seed it out, one new Skylander character per month or whatever, right, for the fans. And this woman was taking a selfie. You see, it's my badass Yurichi phone, okay? Freaking Yurichi from Bleach, obviously. I have a Yurichi. Yes, I have a double Yurichi, okay? I have a Yurichi on my phone and Yurichi behind me, whatever. I love Yurichi, you know that. So she took a selfie, right? With, oh my god, I'm working at this badass video game company. And this is a true story, 100% she got fired. She doing the selfie, badass, look at me, I'm so cute, right? And she had, of course, instead of having badass Yurichi behind her, obviously ultimate woman, she had her screen, her working screen, right? And on that screen, then you could see like, oh, that's a new Skylander, that's like a new dragon, that's like Spiro 3, that's like a red dragon there. I don't want to say what character it was, but basically a point. You could see a new character, right, on the screen behind her. And of course, the schedule was that, oh, that character is going to be revealed in like 3 months from now, right? Because you might have, like in my other game too, then you might actually have like 20 things finished, right? But you are still sitting them out, duck, right? To keep that, attention, or keep people being invested, keep people being so. So this character was like fully done, and she could play test it and all that fun stuff, right? She posted her selfie on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, those things, then, right? And then of course the news, people on Reddit and YouTube, she immediately picked it up to say, "Oh, look at that! It's like I read about this thing, and this is clearly a new character that hasn't been revealed yet." She got fired for that. At least 100%. I mean, I've seen more than one person getting fired in that company for dumb stuff. But I really remember that one. That was like, oh my god, that was classic, man. Taking a selfie and having the screen behind you to spawn. Yeah, more than one person has definitely getting fired for posting selfies, right? But that one was so. Oh, it was so stupid, man. Like these days, even before that, especially these days, I always like quadruple check everything that I always post to people like that, right? With work or whatever. Yeah, I'm like super, almost like paranoid on that, but it's massively so. Massively so. And I was at this like confidential site last year, and some guys even commented that, oh, you can't take a selfie in this angle. So basically, I was in this place, right, and you were allowed to take photos of yourself with this thing, but you can only do it in certain angles. So the guy working there told me that, okay, you can take a selfie or whatever, right? But you have to aim the selfie in like this direction. You can't aim it in like that direction. Like what's over there cannot be shown, okay? That is like super confidential. But you can show it this. So you have to take the selfie in a very specific, or like the group photo has to be very, very specific. And like yesterday we did this group photo. I wasn't in it, but there was some people. We had some guests. We had like out the conference, okay? And we were the host of the conference. Same thing there, right? My boss is telling the people at our conference, okay, you can take photos, but you're not allowed to take the photos wearing your this thing and that thing. They have to be very, very specific. It has to be against this wall. I say that you have to take the image. We have to be against this wall. It can't be against that wall and so on. So it's a lot of stuff like that actually when you get into it. But yeah, don't get fired, guys, for taking selfies. Okay, that is my experience. I can talk about this for a long time. I think it's sad funny in that way, right? Someone has like a career, this dream job. This is like super epic dream job for most people that are working at Symbolism, right? They're getting fired for taking a selfie. That was like, my god. There was another person that worked there. I won't bore you, but there's one exercise story I think is really fun, very short one, but it's very strange. Okay, the same year when I worked there, there was this woman that just didn't do much. She was just useless, okay? She just didn't like do anything, basically. It's super strange. And it was very weird because she was just super lazy or whatever, and no one liked her. Right? She just does nothing. And and then we had this she had a temporary contract, right? You know, a contract for like 4 months, they have to renew it, you know, and so on, right? So everyone else in her team, right? They, of course, had a meeting with the manager and they got to renew the contract. So you sign another 4 months or whatever, right? To work there. But she didn't. Right? No one liked her, right? And the manager, so on, she was so terrible. So the manager never called her in for, you know, like signing a new contract or whatever, right? And so I was working there in another team. So I wasn't working with her, but I knew about her. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's terrible. And then one day, we come into the office, right? She just stands outside the office. She can't enter the door, right? Because obviously her contract had finished, right? And they hadn't replenished her contract. She was basically terminated, but not fired in a sense, because she actually wasn't, you know, kept being hired, so to speak, right? But the weird stuff is that she wasn't aware of it, in the sense that, and I really mean it, not in the company's fault. She just didn't have a contract anymore. Right? But this woman was so lazy and weird. She was like, but I work here. She's standing outside the door. And the guards were like, no, you contract ended yesterday. And she was like, no, I work here. They're like, have you signed a new contract? I was like, oh, everyone else in my team keeps working here. These people are working by me. And she was just standing there. Like, it was, that person was on the same team as separate. Yeah, those two were the same. They were in the same team there. That's why I remember this so much now. Don't take selfies, guys, and also sign your contracts. No, but I just remember this so much. I'm coming there to the office, right? This is like maybe 3-4 weeks after the selfie girl got fired, which took the selfie that got fired. And I'm walking up there, and I'm standing. Oh, isn't that the woman that everyone says so lazy? Oh yeah, that's her. Huh? I guess her contract ended, but she doesn't understand. She's like, oh, but my coworker is entering and. She's looking at me like, oh, how you still working here? I'm like, yeah, I only work with you, but yeah, I have no contract. Like, yeah, I have like a full employment anyway. But I remember it. Sorry, but yeah, long story, guys. But I hope you guys like it. I have a lot of those stories too, and I kind of spin out here in the end a little bit, I guess. But I find it interesting though, and I hope you guys do as well, because when I thought about that selfie story, it kind of come back to me like, man, it is so much weird stuff I've seen in my life. When it comes to artists, right, and behind the stage stuff, where stuff just completely breaks down, where someone does something really silly. Like, I have so many Yeah, I'll spin out now, but I can make a whole challenge talking about really weird life experience. And I can see myself just writing, you know, something like The Office, right? Some other comedy show where I just go over all the weird stuff I've seen in my life. So, for example, no, I'm spinning out, but it's one last thing I tell you guys. I hope you like the story. It's a real story, okay? So I was renting out my apartment that I owned. This is like 10 years ago, whatever. An apartment, right? I moved to another country. So I was still renting out my first property after I could sell it, you know, all the good stuff, right? So in my apartment then, and this is in Göteborg then, in Gothenburg, in second Lars, Sweden, my mom had given me all these plants, right? Because, you know, my mom is like, oh, plants are great for you, obviously. She's like, oh, it has to be green and the air and so on, right? So my mom has given me a huge amount of plants. And obviously, I haven't taken all these plants with me when I moved to another country, okay? Sorry, mom, but that's how it is, right? But anyway, so I returned to this place then, right? After like a year or whatever, right? I'm renting it out. And the guy that's renting from me, him and his like fiance or whatever, so I'm renting it to a couple. And I obviously told him that, you know, I have to water the plants and whatever, so on. But of course, all the plants are dead, right? They've failed to water the plants or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, and I'm not surprised, whatever, you know, it's how it is, right? And I'm not overtly angry over that because I probably wasn't really gonna move them anyway. But still, it's like, you know, told my mom to come and get them and whatever, so on. But it was so weird. I kid you not, Ever. I kid you not, Ever. He didn't throw away the dead plants. So I'm coming to him. He's telling me, oh yeah, sorry, all the plants died. I'm like, oh, of course they did. I was like, okay, maybe you could send it to my mom or something. And I mean the actual, you know, flower pots or whatever, right? And he's like, no, I still have the plants. I was like, but you told me they died. And I don't see anyone in the apartment. So I was like, okay, what are we talking about? So that he has taken all the dead plants and put them in the, what is called in English, like the, not the garage, but like the storage facility underneath the apartment, right? You know, you go down into like that. He has taken all the dead plants and the flower stuff, and he's put it there, okay? Like he just dumped all the plants, like, you know, 15 plants, right? So this dried up dead plants, he's like put them all on the dirt on that. He's like, oh, but I kept the plants here, so they aren't actually lost. And I'm like, but they're all. So it's not so much longer story, but like, you know what I mean. I guess it's there for like 10 hours, being like, yeah, some people are weird, man. That was super weird. Like, why would you keep it? I was like, why? You throw it away then. I was like, why would you do this thing? That was one of the weirdest things I've seen in my life. They're so weird. Because I mean, like I told him to immediately, what's the point of this thing, right? They were dead anyway. I don't want to have all these dead plants. That doesn't give me anything, right? He's just like, no, but no, I'd rather have you throw them out, right? And so he has still spent time, right? He has still taken all the plant pots, right, that have been dried up and died, and carried those dead plants down to the storage. He might as well throw them out, right, instead. Yeah, it's like the effort to move them to another place takes a day or whatever, right, for all these plants. You could have just moved them and thrown them away instead. Like, it doesn't make any sense, right? And then he's trying to get me now to throw them away something. I'm like, F you, just throw them away, man. I'm like, you should do it, you know? You have to clean it up. I was like, we're crazy. Throw them away. Yeah, I was like, well, it's crazy. Like I said, I can sit there for, I could write like a whole, like a comedy show about this and have all these characters that I met in my life being like, yeah, that plant guy, that was weird. So when you're working, well, anyway, my long point is that when you work behind stage, right, on these productions, as I've done for mostly games, but other stuff too, right? We go into this stuff, you get into so many weird moments like this, when someone's just like, wait, why didn't you do that thing? Well, yeah, there's so much weird stuff that happens, I feel, usually, behind the stage stuff. There's always some weirdos, like, why are you doing this thing for? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think that most issues too in life isn't that you have these, like, crazy evil people or whatever, right? It's just like weird stuff. Yeah, it's like, why are you doing this for? Like, why would you do that for? It doesn't like ruin my life. It's just strange and unnecessary. And now it's like we have to have a debate about it now afterwards. We have to argue over it. Just fix it, you know. I spelled in the video, but I had a meeting for 2 days. I was working on we're gonna create this like enemy dragon thing, and I had a meeting for like 2 days with like 10 people because these two people, these groups then, two group people basically, they kept arguing if the dragon was gonna be blue or red for like 2 workdays, screaming at each other. Like, I had another workday where we were working on this, how I say it, a card game design, like a croupier, the actual avatar you were playing at. And I heard people screaming at each other outside the meeting. I heard all people screaming at each other, like, no, she has to have blonde hair and so on. She can have dark hair. Like, people are crazy. I heard people shouting at each other for like a full day about the hair color of like a person in like a promotion. Oh, we're gonna have, no, they actually has to have blonde hair and so on. So it's very strange, man. It's very weird. So like I said, if I want more of this stuff, look on blog. Anyway, long video now. Subscribe, slap, and have a great day.